Oh, as Star Trek The Cruise 2026 sails off into the sunset, some thoughts. Right here today on Trekland Tuesdays Live, number 438. Oh my goodness. Yes, right here with me, Dr. Trek Larry Nemecek, coming at you from the heart of Trekland, the home of Trekland Treks. Right, your customized away mission when you're in SoCal for a day. Your awesome one-of-a-kind experience. And most of all, the branch office for your Exploring Trek Sites Hollywood to Vegas this week before Vegas. Celebrate the 60th in a whole new way. Yes, right here from the heart of Trekland for some sanity, clarity, and a big picture, a bigger picture in all things Star Trek. So no, today, I want to just say howdy to everybody. It's a crazy world out there, so I hope everybody is keeping safe wherever you're living, and also what's going on online. We're going to have some interesting days ahead, and I'm using that in the most euphemistic way possible. So we will see what's going on here as we face down the last 2 weeks of Fresh Trek with the last episodes of Starfleet Academy. And then we're off into another few months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months of no Trek until the powers that be deign to give us season 4 of Strange New Worlds, which was shot over a year ago. But for a brief week that started crazy and ended tragically, not for those aboard ship, but for the world at large, we had a little bit of a respite. And as I say hello to everybody, and look, it's fine. If you want to lurk, if you're new to Trek, if TTL, and you just want to lurk, that's cool. You don't have to jump in. I have props today, so that'll be fun. But I want to say, whenever we get into this moment of enjoying Trek, or maybe not even enjoying Trek, but it's there to talk about, and at the same time, events in the world that draw our attention, that we feel like we're leaving. If you ever feel like you're ignoring the events of the real world that demand your attention, you should never feel guilty about being blinded off, right? Because at times I have, doing our shows, during our podcasts, during the work, talking when there's so much going on in the world. And as I believe happened, I'll say, in World War II with the musicians, the actors, the Hollywood, the music industry, the things that people in publishing and books, people who felt guilty if they weren't 100% 24/7, supporting, boosting the war effort or boosting morale, or in times of social upheaval, or even now we've seen biological upheaval. You got to remember, I've had people come up and tell me, keep doing what you're doing, because this Star Trek in general, and all of us that are in the ancillary edges of it, sports, all of that, it lets everyone have a moment to, if not take a break, to take a break and then recharge to go out and do battle. Even if doing battle is just getting through the day. We got into this a lot with Life Sport Live with Dr. Ali during the pandemic. So don't feel guilty about diving into your trip. You need to poke your head up and know what's going on in the world. But when you have such an extreme as a war, and yet you've got people partying on a boat, even if it's for Star Trek, not just a 24/7 party, a lot of good thoughts, a lot of opinions, a lot of good community on the boat. Same thing as happens at Vegas. Same thing that happens at any large gathering of Trek folks. It can't help it. It's in the Trek DNA, right? And I'm just going to preface with that, saying that. So yeah, let me dive in and just give a little bit of it for just some thoughts. Some of you in the chat may have been on the cruise. Some of you, and if you are not the people that I'm going to talk about. But the mainstay of any cruise is the T-shirt. And notice I don't have mine on. I haven't taken it out of the bag. They had to bring the T-shirt party indoors because of some rainy weather. It was a little odd. And it's too cold today to wear this now that I'm back home in sunny Southern Cal. But no, it's always, I like this one much better than last year. The colors were all maroon. But everyone gets their T-shirt. So every day you get a goodie prize. The T-shirt is one of your goodies when you are in your stateroom, right? They come when they clean, they bring you something every day. And I'll just start with that. This is very boring looking. This is a poster. You've probably seen them out. It's the basically poster with, it's your Star Trek heads poster. All the actors, anyway, who are there are in, everybody's listed, and the actors have a head thing with a ship behind it. And a lot of people have a good time with this. Is the first day's gift, and may even have been Fridays, if not Saturdays. A lot of people enjoyed getting these signed when they run into people, because, you know, there's formal autograph and there's formal photo ops and picture times, but there's so many times to just run into people on the fly, especially if it's a spotlight event and it's just after. So yeah, a lot of people running, including Todd Stashwick, running around getting his signed, either for himself or maybe a charity event. I don't know. And maybe others too. But just little goodies. One day I got to give a shout out to our friends, Lou and John, and all the family at Fansets. They did the, special pin once again for the cruise, exclusive. And just to know, a big shout out to Fansets again, because both of the games that I hosted, I used Fansets pins as the prizes. So we repeated the instant meme game, which is the blooper captions, which I've done at other cons too. And then something I brought back just for the cruise was, I called it Trek Lose or Draw, but it was basically the old win, lose, or draw game Pictionary. We did a couple of rounds. I'm going to tweak a little bit the next time I do it. But we had a blast with that. You may have seen videos up about that, which don't do it justice. It's hard to capture that kind of thing. But yay for the annual cruise exclusive, only for the 3,000 or so who were on the. Now, Janet opened hers. I haven't. I just don't have the heart to. But this was very odd. Many people take notes in pads, right? Right? With a little pin here on a pen, writing pen. Very cute. They had this one dolled up as a communicator, and you could flop it open, and there was your pins. Backside with the monogram for Cruise 9. This was one of the day's goodies. Very cool. The last days was this cool bag tag. That's a 3-dimensional. Can you see there? It's 3-dimensional. Yeah. Very nice Enterprise bag tag, which again, I didn't use it. Save it for later on or whatever. I know I'm leaving out something else, but one of the big things notable that was very cool was a cruise exclusive figure from our friends at Nacelle, Brian Volkweiss and all his gang. And it's a figure, an exclusive. It's a 60th anniversary. Kirk as a Romulan from Enterprise Incident. And with the trademark Nacelle, lots of extras. So you've got a Sonic, you've got a Romulan disruptor. You've got a Romulan communicator. But best of all, you've got all these different grips for Kirk's hands, including he's got the Romulan, what is that called? Where it comes down over your hand. Each hand has a little bit of one of those on it, see? Yes. I know some people's first reaction to seeing this might be, cool. So you mean people on the cruise got their wave 1 Nacelle figures before the world did because of manufacturing and shipping problems that Nacelle ran into? Not their fault. It was all overseas and the tariffs and all of that. And that's getting sorted out. These figures look awesome. I don't see any manufacturing, they're looking at the head especially. So no, I'm not taking it out of the box for now anyway. Figure 19 in the big set of things, but this is the exclusive cruise packaging. So, that's a surface way to look at the cruise. A lot of people go to Vegas maybe as their keeper. They may go to New York Comic-Con or San Diego Comic-Con and all that. Or for our European friends, you may go to FedCon, which is more of an all-Trek event like Vegas is, right? Now, it costs, obviously, to get there. And there's different size cabins. That alters your cost. And then once you're aboard, there's Wi-Fi packages you can get. You can get alcoholic and non-alcoholic drink packages. There's some add-ons you can do. and you pay a minimal amount if you want to do some of the score excursions. We had 3 actually set foot in the Dominican Republic for the first time, Santo Plato and San Juan, Puerto Rico, where we got off and actually walked, where they were in a heat wave with humidity, not that hot, but it was in the 70s, but the humidity made it in the 80s. And anytime you've increased the temperature 10 degrees, it's going to feel oppressive. It's going to soak it out of you, sponge it, squeeze the life out of you. But we did. We walked the mile and a half over to the El Morro Fort. That's one of the symbols of San Juan. And I actually feel like, unlike last year, we actually got off beyond the tourist barrier and got in to see the real culture. Still kind of touristy. It was Puerto Rico National Park, since it's the United States, Puerto Rico being a Commonwealth, and the National Park Service ran this, and it was felt familiar that way, but very much Spanish in 1400s, 1500s, 1600s. That's why you folks would get confused if someone says 14th century, 15th century, 16th century, because you have to subtract 100 to get the actual calendar, right? It's like we're in the 21st century. You think star dates are hard to keep up with. My goodness. Once again, well-oiled machine. Every once in a while, we'd have as I mentioned, the t-shirt party the day the t-shirts went out. People were supposed to go out around the pool area and all that. And it had to be moved indoors to the main promenade. But, with nary a loss of step or enthusiasm. You see online, a lot of you watching the socials, you see the night parties. You think it's just one wild. Let me tell you, this struck me even more than it did last year. The range, the demographics of the folks aboard the cruise. We had so many folks who were in their golden years. A lot of people had assistive devices for getting around, whether that was walkers or canes or scooters or flat out wheelchairs. Lots of people on the cruise enjoying it at the same time as you saw the party people. Lots of people across the spectrum. The LGBTQ community was so represented, but so was everybody else. There were times when you would have like 1 and 2 parties going at night, dances, I should say. Tawny Newsom brought back her, what was it? The Badass Bitch Birthday Bash. Again, for the second year, you saw a lot of that. At the same time, just lots of folks going off boat to the three ports, the third one being Coco Cay, which was kind of a manufactured island for cruise ships. It's like a giant atoll. If it was in the Pacific in World War II, I don't know if either side could have built an airstrip on it. Maybe. Now they would for helicopters at least. But it had a water park. We did not partake. But my point here is folks of all persuasions, all ages. It was an 18 and over cruise. I should say that. It's not for little kids and families. They expressly say 18 and above. So there's that. But everybody to a person. And this is what brings this discussion back around to the current world we've lived through the last couple of months. The world of fans who use online as an adjunct, right? You can plan, you can promote, you can meet new folks. All the normal things of in real life that you would do as part of fandom. I don't care whether it's sports fandom or sci-fi fandom or Trek fandom or the every other Thursday quilting guild fandom. Whatever it is, online's a nice tool, right? But it seems like for the last 10, 15 years, not 10, 12 years, online has just been this bash. It's like, well, if it's not going to be helpful, why do it? Well, it still has its helpful sides. We've just realized what's going on. We've had our eyes opened. We have been awokened to the factor of the algorithms and how just by nature, algorithms attract negativity because by the same token that no one buys a newspaper or looks at a website full of good news. Nobody stops to look at the side of the road if there's not a wreck on it. Okay, we're human beings. And that's one thing we have learned, that the internet is not just a blank sheet of paper 24/7. It's going to gravitate that way. These stories about the AIs being let loose to all of humanity, and they wind up being like fascist monsters, hating any group of people you could possibly come up with, and like turn them loose. And that's what they learn. What was it? We have met the enemy, and he is us, from old Pogo. Pogo was way ahead. If you don't know what I'm talking about, need to Google Walt Kelly and Pogo, who was the kind of forerunner of Charles Schultz and Snoopy. Different cast of characters, obviously. Swamp animals, not little kids. You get all of that. If you have been wondering, if you have been despairing, even depressed at the state of fandom, if you hang out around here, because you're right here watching me right now, which means you're accessing a computer. If you have been saddened that it feels like, especially the last 8-9 years, that fandom has like gone in the toilet, because what you're getting your view of fandom online, all it takes, if you haven't already, all it takes is one massive IRL, one massive real life injection of old school, still the mainstay, what I call armchair fandom, the vast fans out there. Just go meet real people up in real life, and you realize how body and trolly and manufactured all that is. I am not to say that people don't have opinions. I am not to say that people are all vanilla and blindly accepting everything. When you're face to face, people still have, they say, well, I like these 9 things, I don't like these 2 things about X, about Academy, say. But you don't get that sledgehammer bashing and frontal assault attitude. People have their yays and nays because they're human. And people have favorite series and not favorite series, less favorite series. They might even hate something, but you just don't go to that extreme. But there's no room for that online. There's only so many characters. What is it now? 350 now on Twitter? Well, Twitter's X now. If you have not ever had that experience, even if you're far from a convention, if you're far away from a port for a cruise, there's probably a meetup group, and you're getting by with your Facebook page and your Facebook community. The Trek, good old school Facebook, old school. We've had it 15 years, 18 years, 20 years at most. People have all kinds of, safeguards and guarantees, and try to, the invitation, all the rules of the mods on the pages, and try to keep things, forget safe, just normal. Not everything is safe. I want my kids to eat dirt occasionally and scruff up their knee, just so they're not living in a bubble. And we can adapt that to, sure, yeah, we're going to get into that. Look, every time I go back to the fact that when all we had were clubs and maybe our little local conventions to go to occasionally, or when Creation or the original DreamWorks conventions or Slanted Fedora would come to town, you'd still go, and it would just be the commercial chain con, right? 2 rooms, the dealer's room and the not dealer's room, and the not dealer's room had a little stage, and the one actor would be there twice a day and signing other. You'd still go there with your friends, with your little local club, or with your Trek gang. And there's always somebody in your circle of local friends who was the odd bird, and everybody, oh, well, that's just Barney. And it's got to be that way expanded. It's just that the wall of onlinedness, the web, the internet has just given us not that access to know when the wacky lovables are out there. And sometimes we mistake that. And that's what I'm distinguishing from the hardcores and the bots and trolls. So the cruise is great, among others, for reminding you that in real life, Trek fandom is pretty damn awesome. Everybody still has their favorites. We are long from the days, the 1967 days, when everybody showed up at Worldcon in a Spock outfit. maybe a Big Triple. So yes, there's all kinds of diversity, including what we like best in Trek. And the cruise was very much that way. The cruise was also, thanks to being one of the judges, I don't know if you saw us, Mike and Denise and Rod and I judged about 200 entries for the costume contest Thursday night, the next to last night. in 90 minutes, which was insane. We wanted to talk and do so much, and the quality and the technical expertise, the time spent, and the ingenuity. Oh my God, the cleverness in some of these. And they didn't always all align. And some were just very simple. Some were such sweet folks from the days of the performance masquerade contest when you stated your character or your bit, and that was as important as the costume. And that's long gone away, but we had folks on the cruise. The last time they ran a costume contest, that might have been part of the judging. And you know what? It's still out there, especially when you're in original cosplay and not a fan base. Like this is a Trek cruise. Although we had categories. Apparently this has been evolving. I didn't do this last year. I heard from lots of costume entrants that talked about 2 years. Denise was talking about what an experience it was 2 years ago when they were last on and judging. And more categories now to make it fairer. We demanded a fifth category and didn't get it because we had some that were such amazing ideas that were just simple executions. But the idea itself was hysterical. I'm looking at you, Taflo, from Progressive Insurance. And the 5 lights with the "there are 4 lights" word balloon. I'm going to post. You've seen a lot of the costumes, the cosplay, both in the formal contest and just day to day. Awesome. How people pay to bring their extra trunks on the cruise for all their masquerade. My friend Derek and his giant self-sealing stem bolt, I should say, was one of those kind of highlights. Just so much good stuff. And that's out there, and I got to post my pictures. But that's kind of what you expect from any big fan meetup, right? It's an honor again this year, to write the trivia that was customized for 6 different actors that agreed to do it, which was how kind of my gateway. In fact, on her first day on the cruise, because they came on at San Juan 4 days in, Shatner had the first 3 or 4 days, got off, they came aboard due to shooting schedules and wrap-ups on Academy. But Gina Yashiri came on, and the first thing she did as a formal program bit was our actor's character trivia for Laura. Laura's thought-provoking, trivia terrors. And she was amazing. Stand-up comedian. She doesn't need to take anything from anybody except in fun. And she did, and it was awesome. And it was great to meet her and kid around a little bit afterwards on her first day at her first untethered, unprotected fan. No studio there were studio handlers there, but no, they were free to get out and roam. It wasn't like a red carpet, blue carpet, studio PR event, that kind of thing, controlled environment. They were out and about. And then Zoe, I keep saying little Zoe. Don't call her little. If you saw the basketball trick, episode 3, I believe, that was her. And they had no idea. They wrote her basketball scene as a metaphor for that conversation, and they added the dunk because she could do that. So yeah, she was the last hour before everything went to dances only on the last night. So, selfishly, yay. And then you've got old friends, some of the actor core there who we've known for ages through the shows since the 90s. And it's good to see Shatner. A lot of things made viral, and that's the difference now versus the 80s and the 90s. So much gets shared virally. You saw Shatner redoing Rocket Man. You saw the crazy out of a lot of the parties and dances, and you hopefully saw some good moments from just the panels. I don't know what I think about this trend about having actors moderate panels. I looked at Jonathan one time, Jonathan Brent's podcast, right? Name dropping. I looked at, first time I got to say hi to Jonathan. I said, "Hey, stay in your lane." He goes, "What do you mean stay in my lane?" I go, "Now you're an actor, then you're directing, and now you're taking over from the moderators and podcast hosts." But they're great. I recommend you doing it. And he did some of the panel interview, the small scale interviewing with folks, as did Connor. Folks' shows got episodes filmed. I just took a week off. I did a little networking, but just did not try to do anything hardcore that way. And this year, as last year, I got included in a meet and greet cycle where they have chunks of people sitting, the high ticket buyers, the dilithium pass holders. So 50 at a time, 7 of the guests rotating through tables, and you have like 8 or 10 minutes to talk to everyone in an hour. And it was a little bit of a shock last year, except I realized how many folks were there just cruise hopping because that's what they do. And they weren't even there really for the trek, but that was the ship that fit them. But this year, even more so. And this is what I want to get to. This was a ton of fun. You saw so much going on. I regret that I didn't make a fool of myself at Tawny's birthday bash. All the people were trying to get me out there, and I was like, nah, I should have. So much photography, so much good fun. People are getting to experience it that way. A lot of people are looking forward to it. And I should say, it's still not a sellout for 2027, which is the 10th anniversary of the cruise. Lots of it's still there. You know, StarTrekTheCruise.com. You can see about all the different packages and cabin sizes and all that. And just to know that the interior cabins have a window to the outside, and even they have a decorating contest. If you're on the promenade, you can look up, or if you're on the elevators on the interior, you can look across and see people decorating their windows, just as much as door decoration is a big deal. In fact, here's what people do way beyond on their own. Door decoration is a thing. In fact, here's somebody of the fan handouts. Now, we were talking about the official cruise goodies every day, one a day. Someone handed me a passport, Starfleet Command, a Federation passport, but see, experience Deck 7. So they were encouraging people to walk around. There were the door decorating contests, but I experienced it. So you could walk around, take pictures, do stampy things. If you saw the costume contest, you may have seen the Starfleet Museum entry, as seen in Picard with the ships and the guy wearing his circuit he made through whatever media, not paper mache, something stronger. And the assistant walking around handing you a pass to the Starfleet Museum. But it's a nice button. No, they ran out of clips. They were so popular. But that preceded the costume entry too. I mean, just all kinds of things. People 3D printing up a storm. I was lucky enough to get away with a very sweet IDIC there with your choice of a gem in the middle. I was trying to get just clear. Most had magnets. This is just a sample, guys. I love the folks walking around. You're thinking they're Bajoran clerics and all that, and then it turns out that nope, dum. They're the Paw-Wraith disciples. Handing you a Paw-Wraith bookmark of all the things. And yes, no less than his team and William Shatner, working on yet another project. I'm going to hold this up. You can even do the QR code here. Post no bills card. Anyway, Bill is looking for fan submissions. He's doing yet another documentary with both from the pro Trek family, the celebrities, and also tons of fans. And I believe he talked to some on the boat, but this is still ongoing. He's writing a book. He's got celebrities. He's got non-Trek celebrities in it, like Weird Al, et cetera, Nick Carter. He's talking about who he's already had in it. And some Trek folks, Marina, Jerry Ryan. Anyway, so you never know who's going to be handing you something. But it's a big deal on the cruise to come up with sometimes they're there at your door. Sometimes folks are walking around. And I know that happens at a lot of the bigger events, especially the Trek events, but Vegas. But it seems to be a real mainstay here. But what I wanted to get back around to as I sit and think, and we can talk about this in the chat. I may go into the chat a little earlier just to see what people on the cruise, I know some were, who are with us today, and just questions people have. I had yet another revelation on 2 or 3 fronts. One was I never got the capacity of the community room. I wasn't thinking very large. I saw some of our folks, Sci-Fi Sisters, using it. My friend Sean at Trek Culture using it, which of course I visited because now I'm in the Trek Culture family. If you didn't hear that, yay. I need to make a sign. I need to add that to the roll at the end, but I'm not giving up anything else. Everything else is status quo. I'm just going to be doing pieces for Trek Culture. We started with a piece. I hope you saw it. I hope you liked and shared it. Subscribe to their channel for it if you weren't already. The Vasquez Rocks History with Trek and Elsewhere. It's a very nicely produced Trek Culture level 15, 20-minute mini documentary, and I'm thrilled that it's out there. So yay. But I saw folks using the little community room space. It's not even a room. It's a chunk of the observation lounge bar and dance floor for meetups, and had some good moments there. I guess personally, number one was Sean's birthday, which no, he didn't have a big evening dance headlined. It was for the folks there, but a lot of people using that, and I wish now I had thought to do that. But the bigger takeaway to me this time was it felt like seeing more of everyone, seeing a lot more older fans, which may have been because of the 60th anniversary theme. That might have been it. Shatner and Walter. Now, George was not there, but he's coming next year. Meanwhile, Sandy Gimple got to do her first, our Salt Vampire stunt woman. Who else? Sean Kenny, our, Captain Pike, original wheelchair Captain Pike. Bobby Clark wasn't able to make it, no, but the Westmores, having them there and talking about their documentary, Mike's and Marion are both such good friends, and it's just awesome to see the rest of the world wake up. What was happening a lot, and what I heard people talking about, and this gets back to my other main point from today, I kept running into people time and time again who had no clue who I was. And that's why, fine, that's wonderful. That shows how big our fandom is. That shows how much more, if I wanted to get hardcore about it, my marketing could take off. There's still audiences out there. And it was I keep thinking that, the companion generation, the TNG companion generation, the generation that read the Communicator, saw me editing that. And even, my feeble attempts here and with Second Opinion, the Trek Files has a good audience, but a lot of it's very involved people already. And I was learning and talking about a few things. I'm going to have some conversations. I might even do it here on Tuesday. I'm hatching an idea as we speak. So stay tuned. But you all have heard me say for years that not only is online fandom not all fandom, even convention fandom is not all fandom. Online fandom is the people that spend this much time here 24/7, or even, 5 days a week, 2 hours a day. And those people are online a lot more than what I've always called armchair fandom. The people that just want to watch the shows. That's my tagline. The people who just want to watch the shows. And sometimes they might buy a pocketbook, novel. Sometimes they might buy an action figure. Playmates did, Nacelle now. Not one of the big, exos. Just something little. And they show their kids. And they do it as a family. Or, yes, it's the good old stories of the grandpa, grandma, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, big brother, big sister, sitting down to watch Treks. The classic shows, the legacy shows, are watching them week by week now. The way that some of them remember doing with, passing it on. That huge unwashed fandom, they're not represented at conventions. They're not represented at big and small, much less the cruise or Vegas. They're not represented online totally. And that's one of the things that's both frustrating as someone who's trying to reach people, starting with CBS and Paramount themselves. They would love to have an exact count of how many fans there are in the world and what their interests are and what their faves are and what they want to see next. That would be awesome. It would also be a little intrusive, so it's never going to happen. Even when we have, say, as good a metric as in the US, a presidential election, 40% of the people don't vote. When we say so-and-so won or lost by this amount, remember, that's of the voters. It's not the whole population. And that can be a lot the same way in any kind of a population, say Star Trek fandom. And I hammer when people get depressed about what's going on online, and my God, what's happened to people? Well, some of that's amplified as artificial bots churning out 100, one account with clone accounts, and then they each churn out 100 posts a day. That USC study I talked about way back in the beginning of TTL, that USC grad student study about Rian Johnson and whatever the hell Star Wars movie it was he directed that was so controversial in some way, or was it? It crossed over on our paths when Discovery came about. I can't believe that's been 8 years ago now, 8.5 years ago. But some people would love to have these metrics. They're not going to exist. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a good thing. Just enough to be mindful that that's a fact, even if we don't know the exact numbers. And it's the same way with con-going fandom, too. Look, cons from your local con or your local regional Comic-Con all the way up to Vegas, all the way up to the cruise. Or, say, FedCon in Germany, or some of the cons in the UK, or wherever. You have to be a fan who is aware of that happening and then has the wherewithal to get there, the money, the logistics. So right there, convention fandom is already self-selecting. And yes, you all know the folks who go hungry for 3 months just so they can afford to go. That's a priority, and they go. But then there's plenty of folks that say, you know what, that's crazy, but I've got my Star Trek here on my TV. Or I've got my Star Trek books. My collection is right there. I'm building my Star Trek Lego, and that's my big splurge for the year. Those folks outnumber convention-going fandom 5-1, 6-1, 10-1. And I dare say they outnumber online fandom, if you could parse it down to actual bodies who are sincere and humans. Okay, I won't exclude the fact there might be Andorians or Tellarites posting now. Lanthanites among us. But you know what I mean. So when I say that I was on the boat and as many friends and familiar faces and new faces who come up and say, oh, I love the Trek Files. Or they say, I love everything you do. Keep doing it. And they're brand new to me. And I said, that's awesome. Please pop up and say something when we're doing Tuesdays Live. Or leave comments on Second Opinion. Or even Cadet Alice. Or please jump over and join my Patreon. Or join Portal 47. Or do a tour with me, which we've had happen. Those are awesome folks too. But I'm talking about the people that have no clue. And I'm saying this in the words of a famous Vulcan, I have no ego to bruise. I love doing that because it shows that not everything is known. Not everything, everybody is nailed down and put in a box. There are still tons of, even and of any age. I didn't think that anybody over 40 had a TNG companion. They did not. I think we had a lot of original series fans who did tune out TNG and never came back. I remember when Enterprise started, as people were yelling about the theme song, we had a lot of people who left fandom because of TNG, but they were original series fans. And somehow they got the message that Archer's crew in time was before TOS and was going to lead into it. And heaven forbid, after 3 spin-off shows in the late 24th century, the TNG DS9 Voyager trio, there was a wave of fandom that came back to Fresh Trek with Enterprise that had been original series fans. As wacky as that sounds now, it was a thing. Could I have measured it? I don't know. 5% of fandom, but there was a block. I would hear from them. So it's a never say never. I was just talking to a potential tour taker that said her 2 favorite series were the original series and Discovery. There you go. Yes, we are all different. I'm not. And of course, what that led to was not, God forbid, it leads into this, wow, you should, not the used car salesman. But if they didn't, I could tell. but they're complimenting me on the trivia. They're complimenting me on running a game there, presenting something. And that's fine. It's still an opening to a conversation about, oh, that's cool. That's awesome. And I might say, do you follow me anywhere else? And they say no. And then still, it's not like you get off and walk away in a huff. It's a perfect opportunity to find out more about them and what path their fandom takes or doesn't take. And as much as this was amazing to see what Bob Picardo gave us again, right? And Zoe with the zither singing as she had done on some video, if you're paying attention. Again, get all these. The thing of choice now is Instagram. Follow all these new people and the creators when you can find them on Instagram. And that's where people still feel like it's the last vestige of halfway pure anything that hasn't been completely soiled and trampled by the evil overlord algorithm bots. Zoe had done some, I guess, rehearsing that she'd posted a couple of that, which felt normal, right? If, oh, well, they did the show, here she is doing. Well, no, she's doing it on stage now, along with Jonathan singing in a duet with our Nico, Bob's opera friend from last year, On a Street Where You Live. Just a whole little review. I say review, R-E-V-U-E, right? The musical review. It's just awesome. John Delancey and the orchestra students that he's been spotlighting lately. Denise and her crazy wacko overdubs and the original scripting, playing out a man trap on stage. Yeah. It's all really wacky stuff, taking advantage of a big stage with an orchestra, but also the smaller stages. If you ever get the chance to see Tawny, much less Tawny and Eugene, during their improv show, we're in town for something else, please, you will thank me later. Anybody, it's always a crammed. They moved it from the secondary theater last year, the ice rink, to the main stage this year, and it was more comfortable. Their process of doing improv is hysterical. And no, it's not Trek unless something just pops in there. It's mainstream for anybody and very pure. There's highlights you could go down the line. Everybody had interview hours and actors and crew people doing wine tastings and cooking bits and book clubs. And Dr. Aaron, and we had Dr. Mohammed Noor back on the boat. He had to miss last year. And Rob Perlman among the others. But not the actor bunch. Federation ambassadors, they're called. So it's a little bit of something for everyone. Last year, Brandon was on. This year, the Westmores. Next year, David Livingston, who, if you know what's going on, as I've tried to do last year's, David was my third or fourth year's open house special guest for Portal 47 in the fall when we opened the doors of Portal, and it's free for everybody with a bigger guest than usual. And all our guests are big. And that's the other thing that I've noticed just in the last year. Among this audience, half of whom did not know me, it was gratifying anyway to hear so many fans either in reaction to say something with Mike on stage or talk, or Lolita running it and being there also, or the Akutas. Oh my gosh, I forgot the Akutas. This is their second one, and they'll be back next year. The behind the scenes is starting to creep into, oh my God, dare I even think this, into more of a mainstream consciousness of, maybe there's more to hearing about these shows and episodes and our favorite stories than just the actors. God love them. Maybe other people had even more to do with what we love about Star Trek than our characters and actors. Not to replace them, but just more, which is what I've always said. That's why Portal 47 is out here for all the Star Trek fans who have no idea how much Star Trek they still have no idea about, because it'll be there. It'll always be there. You can't talk to the legions of people in all the different ways that can talk about the making, both intentionally and unintentionally. And it was so cool to hear people that were either completely oblivious to being ironic with me sitting right next to them, or people who had no idea, which was the bigger case. And nicely complaining, well, why don't we see more people behind the scenes? I want to go, well, welcome to my world the last 40 years. What was I saying in the 80s at Stephen Walker's Denver StarCons? Yes. Why don't we get more of those people? So you all know that's what I've kind of dedicated my life to, whether it was the pages of the Companion or Portal 47 IRL and everything else. The panels that I try to do at cons, mostly. Yeah, we have fun. The fan experience is fun. That's where we get the blooper caption meme game and the Trek loser draw. But there is so much out there to spread that's known and people don't know. And then the things that are not known well, that no one is familiar with and are just bombshells when they come out. Witness having Robin read that we'd all heard about, but to see it on paper, read the very short mini scene that would have been Saavik and Kirk talking about Saavik being pregnant in Star Trek 4. That was our next to last Trek Files episode. But it was so fun to hear more and more people kind of get that idea, like it was an original idea. Why don't we hear more from those folks? And I was not crass enough to go, what am I, chop liver? No. But it's just fascinating to hear that's an idea that's starting to percolate after 60 years of Trek and maybe 20 years of what I'm trying to do and others. You know, I said when I was a kid and I'd read Interstat and 7/8 of the letters were about Vulcans and Ponfar. And 5 or 6 other people wanted to talk about Andorians and Tellarites and the Federation and the other, you know, everything else that was going on off that little ship. A lot more was going on in the universe off that little ship than on it. Just a reminder, just as a reminder. And we've finally been seeing other pieces of that universe outside that little ship or the little ship of the moment. Yeah, budgets, yeah, tech, yeah, CGI, but just the imagination and the realization that we didn't just have a show, we have a franchise now. We have world building, yada, yada. It was amazing and fascinating and encouraging and exciting to see people come to that real, not a stampede, but at least once or twice a day, I heard someone say that who did not know me and what I'm trying to do. And that's heartening. I know they're out there. We'll get there. And maybe because of the cruise and maybe people came tripping into not so much even the games, but when I would go to see how the trivia was landing with the 6 different actors all across, I say, the spectrum. I mean, how long they've been in part of the Star Trek family, older, longer, or less so. And the crowds that were there for them. Gina had a crammed, Laura Falk. I'd only seen one trivia round. They're full. People are having a good time. Of the 2 years, and I missed 2 of them seeing them IRL. The 4 last year that I saw, the 6 this year. Only Jerry Ryan last year had standing room only. Cram in the room, whether people were all playing or not. Gina had the second biggest audience of those. And that's not taking away from anybody else. I mean, she had the other audience that was making an effort to be there. Partly because it was literally her first day in a fan setting and her first event. And partly because a lot of the fans knew her from her stand-up and her videos that you can find. What is it, Netflix or is it Prime, where she's got 3 specials, I think? And she was hysterical. She was doing a little Laura in the face of people on the front row. You know, you will not yell out the answers. Out the airlock with you, naked. It was so much fun. So yes, everybody, the standard thing to say is, well, did you have fun on the cruise? Did you have fun? Well, yes, unless you had like 7 days of seasickness. How do you not have fun on a cruise? A lot of people who do cruises before this, and they've done the Trek cruise now, just mundane cruises. They're like, oh my God, they're so boring. And you can't, here's the other thing, the takeaway. People who have done other cruises and now this for the first time, or people who had fans who had done other cruises in the past, they Trek cruise now and they won't go back and do a mundane cruise. And they'll say they're boring compared to a Trek cruise. Duh. Even with events and the, the shore getting off at ports and things, or the speakers coming aboard, that kind of thing. If it's half, a Princess does that. Either doing that or the people. You're leaving out of Florida, and there's lots of tourists in Florida, as well as lots of people who live there anyway. And I won't say anything aside from we all know the Florida man jokes. And I'll just say, anybody who wants to live in Florida with that humidity, you would be itchy all the time, except you've lived there so long you don't even realize why. Personal opinion, I could never live in Florida. It was hard enough living in Oklahoma with the humidity, and Florida has Oklahoma humidity all year long, not just the really bad winter, summer months. My point is, there's all kinds aboard the cruise, all ages, all identifiers and genders, all Star Trek interest and generation of Star Trek interest. It's such a mashup. Yeah, it's still teen. It still leans to the TOS, TNG eras, but more and more with DS9 and Voyager. Oh my God, right behind Enterprise, and more of the Discovery era, and whatever is in spotlight there. Had lots of strange new folks last year. Had Discovery folks this year. Anthony was back, and yeah. You'll have a lot to vibe. What's interesting now is going to be able, and knowing people that work on both, watching, can we call them this, the big two? Different experience in many ways, some overlap, but watching Vegas and the cruise kind of reflect, and good night. It's like a Coke and Pepsi thing now, right? It's like a Hertz and Avis thing. I don't know. That's probably an old, you know what I'm saying? The top two competing in AFC and FC. It's like watching them look at each other and beg, borrow, steal, reflect, go back and forth, pick up ideas from each other. One come up with a new idea, the other kind of put a spin on it. Yeah. Creation Vegas just announced having Scott Bakula. So everyone is on board for the 25th anniversary at Vegas now, except Jolene, who did do a voice for Lower Decks and shocked people. So is she into her comfort zone with her charity work and social charity work that she might deign to come out? I mean, no, people thought that Whoopi would never do as much as she loved Trek, she'd never do a convention. People, Robin Curtis, no, Kirstie Alley never did a Trek convention after 1982, certainly after she wasn't back as Saavik again. She did 2 or 3 conventions at the beginning, nothing. Finally did one. So you never say never as far as that goes. So we'll see. We'll see what the lull of anniversaries and passing years does. I know as I look at the cruise, I'm leaving out moments and memories and bits and pieces, personal bits and also what was public. But I think that's my biggest takeaway. It was very humbling in the best way. And the scope of Star Trek fandom, yes, it was the fans who could afford to be on that cruise. Even as much as the different packages, there's a price variance from what kind of cabin you have and what you add on, right? But even given that, there were a lot of people that I know I met that said, there's always people that say they're at their first Vegas. Ton of people said they were on their first cruise. I mean, I'm only on my second one. I hate feeling like I'm a battle-hardened veteran after 1 going into 2. But there were so many people who were on their first cruise and loving it, didn't know what they would do, how soon or when they'd be back, but they wanted to be. I can't honestly think of having anyone have a real critique or something just personally not settle with them. Look, there's events. You say 3,000 people on a boat. There was a whole little underground of the introverts, and they didn't have quiet rooms, but there's the library. There's a game room. Game room had puzzles. There were plenty of places that were open 24/7. in the middle of the night, you could go up and sit. I did some work up there quiet, so I wouldn't wake Janet. 1 and 2 in the morning, had to do some work, and went up to either the library or the game room and utilized that. So it's, when you say all kinds, it really is all kinds. And some folks, you want to enjoy seeing actors in a slightly different, the cast and behind the scenes folks, in a slightly different offbeat way, certainly in a very upfront way, because you don't know who you'll run into in an elevator, which is true all the time, obviously. But even waiting in line to go on, get off, who you might be rubbing elbows with is always kind of exciting and a thrill. And yeah, it happens at landlubber cons, but it feels like in that confined space, everybody is very polite. Fans are very respectful, keep distance. I don't think I heard of anything being out of line. No one's certainly with me. And you know who else's cruise was the first time? It was Rod Roddenberry's first cruise ever after 9 years. And he had some thoughts. We had a good conversation. And I may pick that up in some future forum at some point. But everyone had such a blast. And I tell you what, watching the variety of costuming go through Thursday night in an hour and a half, with our great morale officers there from ECP, our hostesses, running help on all these panels, the trivia, the things that I hosted myself, all of them, and their help with the audience and just making things work. Yeah. Shout out to Lindsay. Shout out to Shayna. Shout out to Cindy. I think the three I work with the most. And what's crazy is some people are staying in right now. ECP is in the middle of doing their 80s cruise. They have an 80s and a 90s. They have one for bikers. It's hysterical. I know they don't bring the bikes aboard ship though. It's interesting. Star Trek is the only franchise licensed thing they do, and they do it really well. So yeah, shout out, hats off to everyone at Paramount, CBS, whatever they're calling it these days, the licensing, our friends over there, and everybody at ECP, Entertainment Cruise Partners, if you wonder. Everyone at, it was Royal Caribbean Lines, and they had their folks obviously everywhere underneath the leasee, ECP, who was being overseen by and kind of guided by Paramount. It's really turned into something after a couple of early rough years as they figured it out, and dealing with this kind of a franchise and this kind of an actor family and this kind of a fan family. It's I can't recommend it high enough. And right now, sure, commercial. Right now, cabins are open. It's getting close to being, I don't know if it's in the it's probably in the 80s. I know it's above 75%. We'll see what happens. And of course, the question mark is what's going on in the world? Where's the economy? All those things have happened. And so far, after the last couple of years, the cruise has been sold out. I talked to one fan who'd been on the waiting list and got on the boat 4 days before setting sail. Now, that was someone who had the wherewithal to adapt their days off. Self-employed, had a very flexible schedule. I don't know. But they were able on 4 days' notice to jump on. But that's showing you what happens. People can't come at the last minute for work. Maybe they get sick, sadly. So yes, from the boat with the washy-washy guy for the big cafeteria, no health issues. No health scares. People mind that pretty well. You might think it was disheartening for half of a boatload of people not to know who you were when you're in this business. But I was so excited by that. It's not entropy. And that's kind of a attitude to take as we look at these new shows. People want what they know, and that's awesome. But it's okay to eat. I say this as the conservative eater I am, but it's okay to take a bite of something new every once in a while. It's okay to go where none have eaten or danced or explored before. And a cruise can be all that too. All that too. I do know that if however many had no clue about me, I got to meet a ton of people. Whether it was after a show of mine, a panel of mine, or totally standing in line, walking around, especially at night, being in line, the pizza and the cookies line when everything else was closed. That's what I call it. And the people who didn't know me, and yet they did. And finding those people or not was just every day was fresh. Every day was fresh. So now we'll see what the next year brings. We have a lot of 60th to celebrate coming up. I have a panel at WonderCon if you're in Southern California coming up at the end of this month on Saturday the 28th. Now, that is also the day of the Trek Talks 6, right? The annual webathon that benefits Hollywood Food Coalition that was started by John Billingsley and aided now by a growing list of podcast hosts, Roddenberry and Trek Geeks and Sci-Fi Sisters, and I'm leaving somebody out, damn it. But we're going to have, it's not announced, but I have a panel virtually with some folks you know about an anniversary event this year. It's not the 60th and it's not the 25th for Enterprise. Keep going down the big anniversaries. That'll be midday, and then I'm hitting the car and going over to Anaheim. And at 6 o'clock that evening live, we have a panel that's being reconstituted as we speak, all about Academy, our reactions to it, and our reactions to the reactions that you hear me talk about here. That's going to be fun. And I have a lot of new folks on the panel as well. I'll tell you more about that next week. And then we're off into the spring and summer cons, hopefully with Strange New Worlds coming back at us in its same recent typical slot, July, August. We'll see. We've just barely begun the year. It's March. Roar. I could come in like a lion. My mane's a little mangy, maybe. We have a lot of Trek to do this year, official on screen and off. We have a lot of celebrating, a lot of anniversaries to get to. And the cruise is over. I'm a little liberated. I can't wait to get into the rest of it. Can't wait to see what everybody's talking about today. And can't wait to get to some of these live events coming up. So yes, if you're going to be in Anaheim or SoCal, end of the month, WonderCon is the little brother, owned by the same nonprofit that does huge, big granddaddy San Diego Comic-Con, but it's far smaller. It's definitely the little brother, way laid back at the Anaheim Convention Center, aka the Picard Starfleet Academy, Starfleet Command. That location was the front of the Anaheim Convention Center, which we had a lot of fun with at the time. If you're in the neighborhood, come by. And if you're in the neighborhood of your computer, don't forget Trek Talk 6 that same Saturday. It's also Saturday for the next No Kings rallies nationwide. So I'm going to be interesting to see where those are located vis-a-vis everything else. So everybody, I'm going to hit the chat now after a micro break. But first, I just want to say thanks for listening today. I can't wait to get into the chat on this one. Did I open up not cans of worms, but just cans of other things to think about? I hope so. And part of that is I hope that you'll join me in thanking all of our Patreon folk. Yes, we have the TTL Club, Trekland Tuesdays Live Club. So thank you once again. I have not updated this. I will do it for next week. I know I've had some new Patreons. I can't stop looking at my old camera. I've had new Patreons. I have not updated. We will have you on next week. My apologies. I thank you anyway. And here they are. Chuck A., James Kerwin, Diana Hopkins, Halbert Gunnjonson, Lawrence Todd, Chris Jiggins, Mitch Keith, Keith Rombach, Josh Patton, Pranakasha Productions, J.R. Poole, Comedy Forecast, and Andrew Jazemski. And our live wires, our second tier, Gary Williams, Rob McLean, Byron Bailey, David Gall, MJ Frug, Chris Garris, Brandon Coles, Dave Gregory, Jesse at Crusher Convo, Donna S. Runyon, and Casey Shafsky. Guys, gals, peeps, it's my simple Patreon. It's $5 or $10 a month, depending on the level. I say this every week. I owe the live wires. these back interviews. I will get them done. Life is easier now. Patreon.com/Trekland Live. I appreciate the support, everybody. It's steadily grown. It's still minuscule, but I keep the levels low just so more people can jump in. That is not to be confused with the Roddenberry Mission Log Patreon, which you can join for as little as $1 a month and get access to the Discord boards for Roddenberry and Mission Log, because that is where we have the finally official Trek Files community is over at the Roddenberry Discord boards. We do Trekophiles Tonight every other Monday at 4 Pacific. Yes, 7 Eastern. And it is right on time. Love for you to join us if you're enjoying the Trek. If you are a Trekophile spelled with an F, love to have you join us there. And you can plus get all the other Roddenberry shows and communities and fan-driven shows that aren't even a podcast. Get all of that there for that $1 a month. It's amazing. It's awesome. Sorry, I have my wandering eye. That's the Trek Files. Now on hiatus, but all 14 seasons are available at thetrekfiles.com, which is our page at Memory Alpha, with the player, with the documents, and the hot links back into Memory Alpha. All of that is there. Yay, yay, yay. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't remind you about, as we head into summer, as we head into vacation season, there's everything with the Trek Files, everything with Trekland Treks for your customized day tour. Most of all, and we're going to cut this off at the end of the month. So if you want to jump in, we only have 10 minimum, 20 maximum seats for the big Geek Nation tours. My friend Terrace Cassidy, who was here the last time we were live here. If you didn't catch the last TTL, go back and check it out. Terrace joined me to talk about what's wild about another experience you can do to celebrate the 60th, which is our big multi-day locations tour that I'll be leading. One bus, no more than one bus, no more than 20 people maximum. Awesome. It's the week before Vegas. You don't have to go to Trek Vegas. We'll wind up there. An optional day is to go out to Valley of Fire. GeekNationTours.com. Or, punch me up on any of my channels. I'll be happy to throw you over there. But that'll be cutting off right after the 1st of April. So if you want to be in with that, check it out and see. Otherwise, gang, you know where to find me. All the socials here. If you're leaving me now, if you're watching, if you're not live and you're watching us on YouTube later, you can keep this conversation going. You can jump in. You can leave a comment. I did all that for you because right now we're going to take a micro break and come back with the live chat. And you're welcome to do that someday. It's afternoons, I know, but sometime if you've got the chance, join us at 1-ish Pacific on Tuesdays, 4-ish Eastern, 9-ish UK, 10-ish Central Europe. And you could be here live too. For now, though, like and subscribe to all the things here on YouTube and jump in. Comment away. Because now I'm going to take a shot here. I'll be right back for the live chat and back scrolling. Meantime, please, everybody, right before I got on the cruise, the stars aligned. My insurance was back after a 6-month lapse. And I did all the things. I got my flu and COVID shot. And I know it doesn't take effect for like a week to 2 weeks, but it was at least in the body. I was of the body. So yes, I'm trying to do all the things. But please, everybody, stay healthy, would you? And while you're at it, stay awoke. Check the sources. Well, everybody.